It took a few extra weeks because of Hurricane Sandy, but finally the NBA universe got to see what a Brooklyn Nets versus New York Knicks battle for the Big Apple looked like. The Nets took the first rendition of this new rivalry, 96-89. In fitting fashion, it went to overtime, and actually it was such a close game, such a back-and-forth affair that both teams had a chance to win at the end of regulation. More on that in a minute, but first of all, this is really what you get when you have two teams that are loading up, trying to win now, spending big money, trying to put a good product on the court. You get two good basketball teams, and actually the Nets, by virtue of winning this game, take over possession of the Atlantic Division. Clearly there's still a long way to go, but you really do get the feeling that both these teams are in it for the long haul. There are going to be playoff implications in terms of positioning from each one of these games, and not only that, but it's possible these two teams could face in a playoff series. Wouldn't everybody love to see that, given the electric atmosphere at Barclays Center on Monday night? It's pretty phenomenal stuff. The crowd was really into it. Lots of trash talking both ways. Lots of big personalities and big stars in this game. It was great to see. Carmelo Anthony was probably the standout for the Knicks. Actually, no probably about it. He was. He finished with 35 points and 13 rebounds, and he was just being hounded by Gerald Wallace. You know, Wallace was an interesting move by the Nets. They paid him 4 years, $40 million this summer. That's a big gamble, but that guy pays off with his defense, with his hustle. Whether he's going to be able to live up to that deal for the rest of the contract, that's a question, but right now he gives you a chance to win, and he gives you a #1 stopper to throw against a guy like Carmelo to try to throw him off a little bit. Down in the stretch in the fourth quarter, Anthony had a chance to win it. Wallace was all over him. He didn't make it. The Nets came back, called a timeout, kind of rushed the ball up the court, and Deron Williams did not get a good shot, unfortunately, for Brooklyn, so the game went into overtime there. Just the hounding and everything else kind of wore on the Knicks a little bit. Melo got called for a offensive foul at the end. A little bit of frustration as Wallace was flopping back on him, but that's what happens when you have to play huge minutes and you don't have the kind of shooting that they had earlier in this season, and really that's what this game kind of came down to. The Knicks just didn't have the offensive balance from the outside. Jason Kidd wasn't there to help facilitate, and Raymond Felton had a terrible night, 3 for 19. As a team, the Knicks shot just 6 for 21 from outside. That's really uncharacteristic compared to how they started this season. They didn't get the same kinds of contributions from guys that they've been expecting in terms of putting together one of the top offenses early in this season so far. For Brooklyn, it was really an all-around performance, and it was nice to see D. Will step up a little bit. He hasn't been shooting the ball great to start the season, but he really did, put together an overall nice offensive game. He had 16 points, 14 assists, 6 rebounds. He didn't shoot well again, 6 for 17, but he had some big passes when it mattered, and he got Brook Lopez involved. Lopez, 9 for 20 from the field, 22 points, 11 rebounds. That's great production from him. That's another contract that a lot of people looked at the Nets and said, hey, are they way overpaying here? It's hard to necessarily justify it, but given the circumstances that they were in, they had to retain him. They had to make this push around Williams if they wanted to keep him. And so, a nice consolation prize is, he gives you those 20-10s on occasion, and hopefully he puts you in a position to be a team that can make a push in the playoffs. In overtime, like I said, they were able to hold on and win the overtime period by 7 points, really through grit. This team hasn't necessarily been known for that, but Wallace is setting a little bit of a tone. That's all we got right now from SB Nation. My name is Ben Golliver. Be sure to check back later for more videos and subscribe on YouTube.